every great story, it starts with something small. And Clara's story is no different. Her beginning wasn't with a big fanfare or some blinding light. It was, well, it was a moment of quiet, sacred stillness. Like the world holding its breath just before a single, perfect dewdrop appears on a leaf. You see, Mother Nature, the one who wove this whole universe together, she doesn't live in a grand palace or on a sparkly throne. Her home is in the rustle of dry autumn leaves and the thunder of a distant waterfall. She resides in the very breath of the earth, in the pulse of the water, and in the whisper of the wind that carries the scent of a blooming rose. She doesn't rule with power, she nurtures with empathy. She listens to the voices of the night dew as it crystallizes on a leaf sedge, each one a tiny, shimmering world. She feels the quiet solitude of a lone blade of grass pushing through a crack in the pavement, and she smiles, a gentle, knowing smile at the silent, triumphant bloom of a tiny wildflower no one else knows is there. She's the unseen artist behind the vibrant colors of a sunset and the quiet strength of a mountain. One morning, just before dawn, when the world was still asleep in shades of indigo and violet, Mother Nature was walking on a hill, her feet leaving no trace on the dewy ground. And suddenly, she felt this magical, almost magnetic vibration, a stirring in the fabric of existence itself. She traced it to the base of an old, gnarled tree, a tree that had seen centuries pass like fleeting clouds. And there, on a small branch, she saw it. A tiny bird, its feathers still soft and downy, its little wings trembling with fear. But its eyes, they just gleamed with boundless longing. This was it, its first moment outside the nest. It was a sacred parting from the warm, sheltering embrace of its home to welcome the vast, terrifying freedom of the sky. The brave little bird, it tiptoed to the very edge of the branch, then paused, a brief, silent prayer in its heart. And then it launched itself into the air. It flew clumsily at first, dipping and swaying, its body a bundle of nervous energy, looking as if it might just fall. But then with some unseen, inborn strength, it righted itself. It soared and just merged with the endless, comforting blue of the sky. It wasn't just flying, it was becoming. In that moment, there was no cheering, no show, just the profound peace of nature and the sheer, breathtaking beauty of a soul becoming. Mother Nature's heart, it just melted, and a single crystal tear, so pure it held the colors of the morning, rolled slowly down her cheek. It wasn't a tear of sadness, but one of pure, unadulterated happiness and pride. It was the joy of witnessing something fragile become strong. That tear carried the purity of the sky, the simple courage and resilience of the little bird, and her own boundless compassion. The tear fell, and in a magical instant before it could touch the ground, it crystallized into a seed of light. This seed didn't need soil to sprout. It only needed the presence of love and the quiet warmth of a hopeful heart. It swelled, pulsing with a soft luminescence, and then it grew, blossoming into a crystal flower, its petals a symphony of iridescent light, shimmering like a little star that had just fallen from the Milky Way. Clara, she was the pistil, the very heart of that flower. She was born not with a cry, but with a pure, clear hum, like the gentle, resonating sound of a wind chime swaying in the morning mist. From the very first moment, Clara carried this gentle, ethereal quality and a deep, intuitive connection to the universe. The crystal flower wasn't just Clara's birthplace, it was her heart, her soul, and her constant companion. It was sensitive to the most subtle vibrations. When she was happy, the petals would tremble, letting out little bell-like chimes, a joyful melody like a babbling brook. When she was sad, the flower would take on a soft cerulean hue, the color of a quiet sky after a long rain, and its light would dim slightly, offering her a space for quiet reflection. And when she listened to a profound story or felt a moment of deep connection, the petals would release a light, silvery fragrance, like a whisper from the cosmos itself. The crystal flower taught Clara her very first lesson in life: to live with your heart, with an open mind, and in complete harmony with the world. It was a living embodiment of the truth that true strength lies not in force, but in vulnerability and connection. Clara's childhood was this flawless symphony, with no single note out of place. She didn't need a classroom with a blackboard or chalk, because the whole world around her was the greatest school. Every day, Clara woke up not to an alarm, but to the gentle chirping of birds on branches, a natural serenade. She learned to listen to the thin mist clinging to the leaves, which carried the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. She learned to walk barefoot on the soft, mossy ground, to feel each dewdrop glide between her toes, so cool and clear. In the evenings, she would lie in a hammock woven from long, fragrant leaves, listening to the wind weave its way through the tree canopies, creating a gentle, rhythmic lullaby that sang her to sleep. Clara's lessons weren't just facts. They were profound understanding. She learned about numbers by counting the sparkling dewdrops on a single spider web. She realized that each drop was different. No two were exactly alike, each one a unique little universe reflecting the world around it, just like people. She learned about the infinity of numbers by counting the stars in the night sky. And then she realized, with a sense of wonder, that some numbers just can't be counted, like love, compassion, and the number of stories the universe holds. Clara didn't just learn to count. She learned to feel the unique and infinite nature of everything. Her language wasn't dry written words. She learned to read the stories written in the scent of flowers. The heady, pure scent of jasmine told a tale of innocence and new beginnings. The deep, rich fragrance of a wild rose spoke of courage and enduring love. And the simple scent of a daisy told of a friendship, humble and true. She learned to write by drawing in the smooth, wet sand with her fingers, and then she would watch as the gentle waves came in and erased them. A beautiful, natural lesson in impermanence. The lesson of the fleeting nature of things, it just sank in right then, and she realized that the only things that last forever are emotions and memories, the feelings that linger long after the moment is gone. Clara didn't learn history from books. She listened to the quiet, patient whispers of the ancient, gnarled trees. Each ring on a tree's trunk was a story about time, about seasons of fierce storms and peaceful sunlight, and about the creatures and souls that had passed through its silent existence. She learned to cherish what was old, to honor the past, and to trust in the new things that were always on their way. Clara wasn't in a hurry. She only ever had one speed, the speed of quiet observation and deep feeling. She learned to talk to tiny animals, to flowers, to blades of grass, and even to the soft, shifting clouds above. She realized that every flower, every blade of grass had a story to tell, and her job was to truly listen, not just to look. Clara's childhood was a long, gentle journey into a world of quiet and connection, where everything could teach her life's most valuable lessons. Life, of course, always has its turning points. When Clara was old enough, a path of light, like a shimmering ribbon, appeared before her. It didn't lead to a bustling city, but to a castle made of clouds, floating in the sky. It was a place where silent wishes were born and forgotten dreams found a home. This is where Clara began her work, becoming a dream weaver. Clara's job wasn't to make things you could touch. She made things that were invisible, yet had infinite power. The lessons she learned as a child, the language of the wind, of flowers, of ancient trees, they became the shimmering, invisible threads for her work. She didn't just weave dreams with images, she wove emotions, scents, and sounds. She used threads spun from moments of true happiness and deep connection, which were the strongest threads of all. A child's thread. This thread was made from the crisp, pure laughter of a child seeing a rainbow for the first time after a sudden rain. It was woven with all the colors of the spectrum, holding innocence and limitless imagination. Clara used this thread to weave dreams about flying dragons, mermaids, and castles built from stardust. She once wove a dream for a little girl who had lost her sense of wonder. In the dream, the girl flew on the back of a giant turtle, gliding over fields of cotton candy and harvesting shimmering stars. An older thread. This thread was made from the quiet feeling of peace a mother gets while watching her child fall into a deep, peaceful sleep. It was the color of warm amber, gentle and full of comfort. She used it to weave dreams of a cozy home, a family gathered around a table for a shared meal, or a quiet garden where one could find solitude. She wove a dream for a man living far from home. In it, he heard the gentle chimes on his mother's porch, smelled her baking, and heard the warm, familiar voice of his father. The dream didn't solve his sadness, but it reminded him of the warmth that was always with him. An elder's thread. This one was the most special. It was made from the soft, knowing smile of an elder who remembers a beautiful, cherished memory from their youth. It was a thread of pure silver, woven with the shimmering light of the moon. Clara used it to weave dreams about the roads they had traveled, the stories they had told, and the people they had loved. She wove a dream for an old woman. In the dream, she revisited her first love, reread handwritten letters, and experienced the beauty of a promise that wasn't kept, but was still as beautiful as a song without words. Each dream, once finished, was a small, glowing masterpiece. Clara would gently release it into the air, and it would fly away, guided by an unseen force, finding the exact person who needed it. A perfect gift from the universe. Some dreams flew very far, to places she had never seen, but she always felt an invisible connection, like a silver thread running from her heart to the person who now held a piece of her work. Being a dreamweaver wasn't always easy. Sometimes the threads would get tangled and break because of people's grief,
disappointment, or loneliness. Clara once had a difficult project, an artist who had lost all his inspiration. His thread was so faded, so thin, it was almost invisible. Clara didn't rush. She sat alone in her workshop, listening to every sigh, and she understood. She didn't try to weave a new dream for him. Instead, she gently untangled the old threads, carefully rearranging the beautiful memories he had forgotten. When she released that dream, the artist didn't see a new painting or a great idea. He saw himself from years ago, full of passion and pure, unbridled aspiration. He found his inspiration in what he had, not in what he was searching for. Clara realized that weaving dreams isn't about creating a perfect world. It's about helping people see the beauty in what's already there, accepting life's tangled threads and transforming them into a shimmering tapestry of memory. She had learned that happiness isn't the absence of sadness, but knowing how to accept sadness as an essential part of life. Just like a river must have bends and rocks to flow to the ocean. The scars on her soul weren't marks of injury, but proof of healing and resilience.
Time went on, gently like a river of starlight carrying Clara's years. Her hair didn't turn white with age, but with the pure light from the dreams she had woven, turning it into a shimmering galaxy, a living map of the hopes and dreams that had come true. Her skin didn't wrinkle. Instead, it showed the intricate patterns of the stories she had lived, like a miniature painting of her life. Every crease, every line, told a story of growth, of love, and of profound compassion. Clara no longer wove dreams for others. She had come to understand that everyone can weave their own. She became a storyteller. Clara lived in a small house by the river of the Milky Way. Her home had no windows, just curtains made of clouds, so soft and transparent that the stars shone through them. When she pulled them back, the constellations appeared, twinkling as if they were listening to her every word. Every night, Clara would sit by her old loom, but not to weave threads anymore. She would close her eyes, and the entire world of her stories would appear before her, a vibrant tapestry of memories. Sometimes, Clara would tell stories to herself. She'd talk about the times a dream had failed, about the threads that had gotten tangled, and about the moments she had felt lonely in her big cloud castle. But she wasn't sad. She realized that even the failures and the sadness were essential parts of her story, making it more complete, more meaningful. Like a river, her life had to have its turns and its rocky patches to reach the vastness of the ocean. The scars on her soul weren't marks of pain, but emblems of her healing and resilience. In the deep quiet of the night, Clara would choose a star to tell a story to. She told of the man who spent years waiting just to grow one perfect rose for the woman he loved. She told of the woman who learned to forgive herself after a mistake, finally letting go of the heaviness in her heart. Every story was a star, and every star was a soul. Clara told of a child who found an unlikely friendship with a small ladybug, and of a mother who stayed up all night, weaving a warm sweater with the threads of her love. These stories weren't just memories, they were light, inspiration, the gentle whisper of hope that passed from her lips to the cosmos. Clara didn't just tell stories, she listened too. She listened to the whispers of the stars and the silent hum of distant planets. Each star had its own story, its own silent grief, its own tiny hope. Clara listened to all of them, without judgment or interruption. She was simply there, like a dear friend,
understanding and accepting every piece of them. When Clara finished a story, a star would shine a little brighter as a silent thank you. And Clara, bathed in the light of those stars, would find her own peace and wholeness. She realized that life isn't about searching for something grand or extraordinary, but about living each moment fully, loving the simple things, and becoming a beautiful story for herself and for others. Clara's life doesn't have an ending. It only has transformation. On a full moon night, when the silver light blanketed her secret garden, Clara felt a deep, perfect peace. Not the peace of something ending, but the serenity of something being completely whole. She decided to return to where she was born, the crystal flower. The flower had waited for her so long, still glowing and humming a gentle tune, a lullaby. When Clara stepped into the flower, she felt nothing was ending, but only a dissolving, a returning. She was no longer an individual. She became one with the light, with life itself. Thousands, maybe millions of tiny specks of light flew up from the crystal flower. Each speck didn't just carry a part of Clara's soul, but a lesson she had learned about unconditional love, about acceptance, about courage, and about the quiet peace that comes from living a whole life. The specks of light didn't fly away and vanish. They flew to places that needed light, becoming tiny sources of inspiration for those who were searching for their own stories. I believe that inside each of us, there's a little speck of Clara's light. It glimmers in our hearts, in every thought, every action. Maybe you're a mother who's finding strength in little things, a girl who's learning to forgive herself, or a man who's finally finding peace. The story has ended, but the peace remains. Believe that inside each of us, there's a crystal flower waiting to shine, and every path we take is a miracle. It's late now. Go ahead and sleep, so that Clara's little specks of light can find you and weave a beautiful dream. Good night.